Another aspect of lucid dreaming is it is linked in some ways with dying.
Yes.
That's intriguing. What would you say about that then?
Well, I mean, I think that, as we all know, the Tibetan Buddhists, for years, they've been working on waking up in your dreams so that you can wake up at the moment of death. And lucid dreaming can take you into these incredible spaces. I mean, I've had very, very many bodiless lucid dreams. For example, dreams where I'm flying really fast through luminous white light. You can think of it a bit like a sort of a cloudy sky on a sunny day. And you're flying through it, but there's none of the bumps and lumps of clouds. It's just all around you, this luminous light. And in these experiences, I've felt like as if I could go around the entire circumference of the world in 1 second. The speed has been so great. And then at times, I've felt that there is no Clare anymore, there's no me or it. It's just a sense of dissolving into light, which is a quite incredible experience. And all that seems to remain is just a sort of a speck of conscious awareness, you see. Having these bodiless experiences in lucid dreams, it does make you feel like, well, maybe we don't need this physical body or even a body concept, because of course in many lucid dreams we have a dream body and we feel attached to this dream body, and if we want to leave a room or a building in a lucid dream, we'll choose to go out through the door, where in fact we could just fly through a wall or something. We don't need to have a dream body. And so I call these bodiless lucid experiences, and I think these are the experiences which could help people in the dying process and perhaps even at the moment of death.
Yes, they've been used as a sort of rehearsal technique, and in ancient Tibet, the text was read close to the ear of the dying person to remind them that they're going to go through a series of experiences which seem to be consistent, like with the peaceful deities, lovely, pleasant scenes, and then the wrathful deities coming along. So if you can only tweak that, yes, this is it's well known, these are conditions you go through before rebirth.
This is death. This is the transitional process.
To stand back from it and say, what's really happening here? That's a wonderful frame of mind to look at something before rebirth.
And lucid dreaming gives you that practice, because it gives you the knowledge, okay, I am awake in a dream. I can see all these things, but it's a different state of consciousness. And
now the Tibetans, they also knew from their massive experience in all this and research that what you believe what happens in death, it will appear to you. It's sort of, you're programmed by your own thoughts.
Cultural assumptions.
That's right. Yeah. And Osis and Haraldson, of course, they did some work in America and in India. These are reports by doctors that people are dying. And they are so culture dependent. In the West, people see angels and Jesus, and in the East, it's some of the Eastern gods and goddesses. So that just shows. But that makes one wonder, well, what about atheists? If we're all programming ourselves for what happens at death, then it could be that atheists, humanists so-called and so on, are really setting themselves up for a lot of nothingness and blackness after death.
And yet this is one aspect of what I've experienced in lucid dreams. There's a part of lucid dreaming experience called the void. Well, people generally call it the void. And it feels like you're floating in infinite black space. And there seems to be not much. I mean, it's a very full space. It's not really an emptiness. And there can be lights, or there can be various things. But basically, you're just there in what feels like infinite space.
Yes, now one might be fearful of that state.
Could be.
But if you know the first law of dreaming, it is that what you think you will then experience. And that seems to be absolutely true to me.
You learn to relax in the void, or in any sort of lucid experience like that, and it can turn into something quite wonderfully meditative and even very healing. So it's all a question of
right.
allowing the experience to transform into something very worthwhile.
And there's a huge link between the body and the mind that's been known for ages, and the symbolism that we've just discussed.
Yes, and I think, lucid dreaming, well, I know that lucid dreaming has helped people in the actual dying process. And there's a wonderful story I'd like to share with you.
Oh, yes.
It's about a woman called Iha Zemp, and she was born with stumps for arms and legs and lots of medical problems. And in fact, she was in and out of clinics a lot, as you can imagine, and she did some great research with neuroscientists and philosophers into phantom limbs. But about a year before she died, she decided to take up Zen meditation. And her meditation teacher, Peter Widmer, he told me all about this amazing woman. Apparently, she wanted to learn how to lucid dream as well, and she learnt it within 1 week, really fast. And she started to have lots and lots of lucid dreams, and about 30% of those lucid dreams she called spiritual experiences, because she found herself floating in white light. And she said to her meditation teacher, "These lucid dreams teach me to die." And she was in Switzerland, and she was very ill and in quite a lot of pain. So she decided to have an assisted death.
Yeah.
And so she, unlike the rest of us, she knew the day that she would die. And so she was able to prepare mentally, emotionally, and spiritually for her death. And she did this through lucid dreaming. And about 1 week before her death, she had a lucid dream that she was lying in her bed, and she'd just sort of taken whatever it was she had to take to die. And the carers were all around her bed. And she floated up out of her body, and she was in this sort of amorphous, sort of bluish, steam-like body. And she floated up, and she went out onto the balcony, and to her surprise, on the balcony, she looked down and saw some lit sparklers, like you have for bonfire light, you can write your name with them. And these sparklers were fizzing with stars. And she reached down to these stars, and she tried to catch them, and she played with them, and she danced in the air, felt totally ecstatic and with oneness, and then she dissolved. And that was the lucid dream.
Yes.
And she woke up and said, "I am ready to die." Now, 1 week later, the moment arrived, and her carers stood around her bed and said goodbye to her. And then, and I think this is very, very sweet, they went out onto the balcony and they lit sparklers, so that perhaps at the moment of death they could help her amazing lucid dream to come true, so that she could have that very conscious death. Of course, we'll never know if she had a conscious death or not, but it seems to me very likely, much more likely than sort of the rest of most of us.
But that's a wonderful preparation for the rehearsal almost of death.
Yes, and making it into a positive experience, because so many people are scared of death. And why? What are we really scared of? Perhaps there's nothing to be scared of. Perhaps it is an experience of total oneness.
Yes, I'm quite sure of that myself. The only pain really is for leaving people behind. Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm very positive about going into another existence. But this Tibetan knowledge is very good, because you're going to go through strange experiences. So you can meditate. It recommends that, meditating and sort of thinking your way through, but standing back and saying, what is really going on here? And that is able to elevate one to another spiritual level.
Yes. And also one is able to visualize one's death as a beautiful occurrence, especially following a lucid dream like that. I mean, lucid dreaming is an incredibly powerful form of mental imagery in many ways. What you see or what you experience goes deeper than just the mental, of course, and that it's such a real experience that I guess you feel very safe in that situation. You feel like, okay, I'm ready, I know what I'm going into.
That's right.
As much as one can ever know. Yes. Yeah. Well, I have the hope that with people learning to lucid dream more, learning to wake up more in their dreams and wake up more in their lives, then perhaps we will be able to wake up at the moment of death, which is perhaps the most important moment of life.
It is when you think about it.
Yeah.